John Richard Kalmar, kind of a regal name. First of 7 children born to Rudy and Mary Kay Kalmar. I'm going to have to tell you, when John went to school, did you already have Mark? Or Mark was a baby?
Oh, you mean college?
And John going to U of I seemed like oceans away. Every weekend when he left, the rest of us siblings would almost cry. And when he came home, it was the king coming home, John's home, John's home. And now, all of you go to Champaign to get a cup of coffee. But Champaign was so far away back then, so far away. And so we were always so excited, and when he got done with school, the rest of us were so busy with our lives, we had no idea that he was continuing on school after schooling after schooling and schooling some more. And I think you were 42 when you finished school? Well, he might still be. But John set the bar high. He set the bar high for all of us. Obviously, we are all so very proud of his accomplishments. And so without further ado, Brother John, we welcome you.
Thank you, Kathy, and Mom and Dad, Mary Catherine and Rudy, thank you for bringing us to Tuscola to grow and to learn and to be a part of this community, which I think we have been now for how many years?
62.
Yeah, 62. Yeah, that's part of the woodwork, and I know we weren't originally part of the woodwork, but I think the Kalmar name is kind of intertwined now with Tuscola, such that we can never undo it again. The family, obviously, being the oldest of 7 kids, I don't think I ended up being a kid for very long. I started to become kind of a mini parent, watching my sisters first and then my brothers later on. And again, Mark was so young when I finally was getting ready to go to college. He was a year old, he was a baby. And so I didn't really get to know everyone as well as I had hoped. And then later years came along and everything was fine. This is going to be relatively short. You read my bio, and it's a long, rambling thing. But what I remember and what I will kind of give is a couple of vignettes. One having to do with U of I. And before I get there, I have to recognize teachers and people here from Tuscola who were very instrumental in providing the nurturing, safe environment to learn, to trust, to communicate, not with my thumbs on an electronic device, but one-to-one with other people. My friends, the McCartys, Carol and Bill, who I saw this morning, they're off to see their first grandchild? Great grandchild up in Bloomington, so they couldn't be here. Stan and Joanne Cross, thank you for the environment in that family, because really that was probably part of the push for me to consider being a dentist even more closely, because I love the ability to be a professional and to also have time for family, which is so important. The Catholic faith, I'm not going to stand up here and say, hey, that's the only way to live life, but having faith and having a belief, not only just in yourself, but in others, I think it helps us get through life, get us through the tragedies in life, and there are a lot of those. There are a lot of challenges that come up. Teachers, Kay Kleiss, I saw her this morning. What a remarkable role model as a woman in the 60s and 70s. She was strong, she was smart, she was witty, she was beautiful in all the good senses of the word beautiful. And then Anita Brown, who passed away last year down in Casey, she was my light. She was a biology instructor, and Rick Esquerdo and I were the first students at TCHS to be able to take biology in our freshman year, and she was remarkable. I lived and breathed biology in that year, and it led me to, again, consider being a dentist, getting into medicine, and doing research. And by the way, PhD, now let's run forward real quickly. PhD, the classic definition of PhD is someone who learns more and more about less and less. So you know absolutely everything about nothing. Take that to the bank. Okay, so not quite there yet, but one vignette, I mean, the University of Illinois is will always be my alma mater. It is my heart. I have a ring here from the 1975 Big Ten Championship, Big Ten for track and field. Yes, I threw the javelin. I have no idea how I was able to do that. Yeah, I was a quarterback, but I had no technique. And when we had the tryout, I actually finished 12th out of 14 people. But as you may know with my dad, and even a little bit with my mom, we're a little stubborn in the Kalmar household. So I told Coach, I said, look, give me another try. I don't have the technique down right. I said, oh yeah, come on, work out. Actually, the guy who won never showed up again. So the second guy and me kept working out, and that next year worked out pretty well. I set a school record, and next year, the last throw of my college career was 221 feet, and I'm still number 2. I'm okay with that 43 years later. And one little vignette with that, I got to go to the Drake Relay in 1976. And I'm out there practicing, and a guy comes running up to me, and this had a different meaning back then, and actually a few years ago it would have. But a guy came running up to me and he said, can I borrow your javelin? I need to get some pictures taken. I said, oh, yeah, sure, fine. So he goes running off. Another guy comes running up and said, do you know who that is? I said, no. He goes, that's Bruce Jenner. Really? Who's Bruce Jenner? Oh, man, he is our great hope for the decathlon in the Olympic this year, really. So in a sport magazine back in 1976, my javelin. My custard, no matter where it went from there. Okay, so then we go through the changes, and again the winners of 78, 79, you remember them. They were awful. I mean, I said I have got to move south, so I went to North Carolina for a couple of years. Chapel Hill, beautiful place. Went to Atlanta. Thought I was going to spend my life in Atlanta, Georgia, because it was a remarkable city. It still is. But Emory decided in their best interest that doing dental education was very expensive, not where they wanted to go, so they closed down the dental school, and I had to leave. And it was my great fortune to end up in Rochester, New York, the Eastman Dental Center, University of Rochester, where I met an oral surgeon and his wife, and they, in their private conversations, decided that, my daughter might like this guy. This guy might like our daughter. And they introduced us. It was a weird thing, and it happened, but I mean, arranged meetings can still work. And I loved them so much, and it is true, the fruit does not fall far from the tree. And we were married, 19 months later after we met, and we've had, beautiful, oh my gosh, beautiful kids who are now all Buckeyes. Good or bad. Senior, sophomore, and freshman, and so we're going to continue to work for a while. But it has been a lovely place to grow up because we're halfway between Illinois and upstate New York. So we're within a day's drive, but we're not too close so that there's interference with where we want to raise our kids. And our kids love both sets of families. I mean, they're remarkable. So, in the closing here, my wife, Eileen, I owe you the happiness that has come with our family, with our families. And, I come back to this idea of where we learned how to, again, trust and communicate. It was here in Tuscola, Illinois. And you opened your doors, you opened your hearts, you allowed me to deliver the paper a little bit late every once in a while. But it was a community, and is still a community, that it's maybe a little different. I mean, now there's so much awareness of all the crime, and there's an opioid crisis and all that type of thing. But love, security, and communication, one-to-one. That's what this place taught me about how to treat life and hopefully stay open to the miracles that happen every day. And I thank you for this honor and for the miracle of just growing up in the great place known as Tuscola, Illinois. Thank you.
Congratulations, Dr. Kalmar. Now, he did fail to mention one thing that, as a lover of all things Tuscola football, really stands out in my mind. He and all three of his brothers were varsity quarterbacks for Tuscola football. So I love that. I let Mr. and Mrs. Kalmar raise great kids. Thank you for your presence in our community. Yes, ma'am.
I also have to say that we have 3 wonderful daughters, and they all graduated from college. Also,
Thank you, Ms. Kalmar. I would expect no less. For our last inductee today, can I have Miss Barb Utterback come forward, please?